And I think she's going to chair the policy.
Yeah, great. Okay, if you need me to do it,
Until he gets here.
send me a script because I don't know what I'm doing. But
Roxanne, now we're recorded. Roxanne, do you want to send the cheat sheet to Terry in case we want to get started here?
Yeah, I'll send it, Terry.
Although we do need at least 2 people.
Hang on, let me do it.
Yeah, I just texted Jen. And that's it. So did you do anything unique that you've never done before, or?
the coolest thing I think I did was we went ATVing. I've done it once before. This was magnificent because it was right along. Thanks, Roxanne. Right along the Pacific Ocean, so that's on the west side. And we had a lot of fun. that was really fun. So if you haven't done it, like through sand dunes and right along the ocean, and it was just that was a kick in the teeth, I gotta say.
Nice.
So, but
Did you guys have was it like a group thing, like where you sign up with, or you guys just you two?
oh, the ATVing, we went as a group.
Yeah.
We went out about 12 cars went out.
Like an excursion or whatever. Yeah.
Right. It was just the 2 of us on a side by side. So we just about halfway through, we switched drivers, and that was really fun. I would do that again in an instant.
Hey, Brian. Hey, how you guys doing? Do you have a laptop or no? No. Oh. Well, that's interesting. That's why I do this at call segment. Why don't we go out there then, and then I'll put it on the screen. Oh, are we gonna pick pong too?
Jan, you look like you work for a call center when you come on. I don't know if she can hear me. We're taking calls now.
Or I'm landing planes, or everybody just walked in from camp, so I'm on mute.
Got it. Yeah, you do. You look like you're ready to handle something. No, Mr. Grossberg, I don't know where your $50 is. I will check.
No, I think it's more like, oh, you'd like to order the Showtime grill? Did you know it's buy one, get one half off?
We will be ready in just one moment.
How was your vacation, Terry?
It was amazing. I have to say.
You look a little tan, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was warm. It was about 90, and I did a good job not burning. That was good.
It was 90 here too. Did you hear?
I hear we didn't get much rain.
Nope, we were all bursting into flames and screaming for the week.
Yeah.
But we missed you.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't miss you.
I know.
I called you on your vacation. Of course, that's what you ready.
I know.
Here's some insurance.
What?
Parks and Natural Areas Committee meeting of the Park District of Highland Park. It's called to order on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021 at 4:04 p.m. I apologize for being late. Roxanne, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Here.
and Vice President Grossberg.
Here.
All right, hold on. We have to fix the. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you. All right, public comment for items on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak will need to use the raise hand function in Zoom to indicate that they would like to speak. The board secretary will call on registrants who have activated the raise hand feature in alphabetical order. Executive Director Romes, is there anyone from the public attending this meeting who wishes to speak to us in any fashion?
Nope, there are no attendees at this meeting.
Okay, that makes it easy. Next is Park Site Plans, Manager Schwartz to present.
All right, good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. That's gonna end yours, Roxanne. Okay. Hold on a second.
Watch up there if you want.
All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, before I start, I do want to introduce Rachel Sorrow. She is the intern here at the Park District. She's in our Department of Planning and Projects, and she is focused on helping us with this project this summer. So I'm going to mute myself and let her introduce herself briefly before I get into the presentation.
Hi, Rachel. Welcome.
Hello,
Woohoo,
I'm Rachel. As Amalia said, I'm interning with the Planning Department of the Park District this summer. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, where I'm a grad student in the UW's Masters of Urban and Regional Planning program. I'm interested in walkability, placemaking, and sustainability, and I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome,
you.
welcome. Fellow Badger here.
Awesome.
All right, so we are excited to share and introduce the Park Site Plan Initiative. In this presentation, I'm going to give you a brief overview of this project and share why it's important and what you should expect from us this summer. Let's see, there you go. So the Park Site Plan Initiative is, like it says in the slide, a direct response to the objectives and goals that were identified in our current plans. We are keeping with the district's strong foundation in planning and our track record for plan implementation. And so this project is a direct response of our Greenprint plan, our strategic plan, and our land management plan. The Park Site Plan Initiative is going to determine park district standards for our outdoor parks. We're going to evaluate the district's outdoor parks based on those standards, and we're going to be able to identify gaps or areas where we might be able to improve our parks based on those standards and offer recommendations for park improvements. And those recommendations will both be capital improvements, but they also may be operational or maintenance improvements at our parks. Why are we conducting this site plan initiative? We're doing this to ensure that our district's park properties are meeting our expectations, and through this process, we're going to have a really good grasp on what we need to be doing at our parks to meet those expectations. So we'll inform our short and long-term budgeting and capital planning. We're going to be evaluating our parks using these standards, and the standards are going to be looking at capacity, access, quality, and experience. We're looking at, I'll just briefly touch on what these are, but the capacity is looking on a neighborhood scale. It's looking at diversity of elements within the neighborhood, but we're also looking at a site scale, so diversity of park elements within the parks. access, making sure that there's ease of access to our parks, bikers, walkers, public transit, parking. Quality, this is looking at scale of landscaping at our different park types, and then overall maintenance, and then experience. And I'm sorry, one of the pictures is missing here. But that's looking at thinking about our parks and how they contribute to our community. So beyond providing a tennis court, but a place maybe to gather, or how are they contributing to our overall landscape? And sorry, there we go. And we're using, I guess, to give you a sense of what this might look like, we're using the green print inventories as a foundation. So this is an example of a park data sheet that was produced for Greenprint. We are going to be using these as a foundation for this project, updating these, but also adding those standards so we're able to understand what's at our park, how are we meeting our standards, and where are we falling short, so that we can then inform our budgeting process. I would say that this project is diving deeper into each of our park sites to evaluate existing conditions compared to the district standards. So that's kind of how it differs from Greenprint and the what was done in Greenprint with these data sheets. And then the final deliverable, we are hoping to have this done by the end of the year. Our final deliverable will include a confirmed inventory of each park, evaluation of our standards, so how each park scored in each level of service category, an assessment of needs based on the park analysis, and then recommendations, and those could be short, mid, or long-term recommendations, and like I said, both capital and operations. Recommendations that are developed through this process will be integrated into the 2022 budgeting process. That is all I have on the park site plans. I'm happy to answer questions or dive in deeper on anything that you want me to explain further.
You have to use the raised hand function, Vice President Grossberg. It doesn't cut it.
Oh, Jen, you beat me like Jeopardy.
It's a buzzer, except I clicked it 8 times.
Okay, you go first because you use the
Appropriate mechanism.
right. I
Um,
actually
so-
raised my hand. I guess
So you may have mentioned this, but what is the matrix for evaluation? I come to this with, I'm cognizant that we're a little bit different than other park districts. We're very large. You know, what are we using to compare? What's the matrix for evaluation? And then how do you determine or prioritize? Are you going to prioritize, or do you leave that, you know, up to others? If you could give some insight into that whole evaluation and then recommend.
Sure.
That would be great.
So we are basing the evaluation or the standards of our parks on a level, it's an industry level of service. The National Parks and Recreation Association has standards or benchmarks that districts are supposed to meet. But those, they've already said, they're moving away from that system because, like you said, each community is different. So Highland Park, to meet the standards of our community, may need more tennis courts than another community nearby. So we are basing these standards on community feedback that we've gathered from Greenprint, from the 2019 Attitude and Interest Survey, to determine what are the expectations of our community. So from a capacity standpoint, really understanding that the priority recreation, people are expecting tennis, they're expecting basketball, they're expecting playgrounds. Walking paths are really important to our community. So I don't need, if you want, I can go into all the different
high level. I think that's great.
That's how these metrics and these standards were determined, and really following industry led or our industry's recommendation of how to determine standards for each community and tailor it to each community.
Sure. Given that it's been a little while since we did a survey and the attitudes and interests and things like that, are we refreshing that this year and adding to it, or are you happy to sit with what you've got?
And Jeff or Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our policy states that we do, though it was a statistically valid survey, and I think we do them every 10 years or so. So we're still within, it's still relatively recent. So we weren't going to be doing that as part of this project.
Got it.
Yeah. That's accurate. I'm not sure if it's 10 years or not. I think but you know, we can follow up with what that is, but we definitely are not due for the one that we did was rather extensive. So we're not due for a new community attitude and interest survey. However, you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, in the next few years, we could do another one if we think necessary to validate that survey again, which we did. Actually, we did that during Greenprint because the attitude interest survey was done, I think, 4 years before that. So, we don't have plans to do that right now, to answer your question.
Got it. It seems though, my only point was it seems that surveying cycle is slightly out of sync with the upcoming Greenprint refresh, right? Because wouldn't that be like 2 years from now, 2023?
When we redo Greenprint.
Or supplement it?
So we just did a review or like an update of Greenprint also in 2019 that was was based on the 2019 attitude and interest survey. It's Greenprint 2024. So I think we're at that point is when we would be looking to renew that master plan.
Got it. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
My question was about, I mean, is it okay? Can I go? Thank you.
Okay. All right, I didn't see your hand back up. Vice President Grossberg?
Yes, no, Jen, you stole a lot of what I was going to ask. I guess just the last little piece of it for me is it just your staff evaluating it, or do we have people, are we opening this up to the public or?
At this time, it's an internal assessment of our parks, and we're confirming our inventory and assessing our parks based on the standards that were determined based on community feedback previously collected.
Okay, yeah, it was interesting just looking at that one sheet that you put up. It looked a lot like a listing.
Yeah, so and that's going to be like we're building off of what Greenprint had done. So this is from Greenprint. What you're going to see as the final deliverable will be more extensive than this. This, I would say, is more of an inventory of what's there. But what we're hoping to do is is confirm what's there, but also evaluate how is it meeting expectations? What are some things we can do to improve our parks to better meet the expectations of our community, and then provide those recommendations.
So
it just goes a little deeper than this.
Okay, so let's just pick a park like is that called Sherwood Park? That little park that's right along by us where our kids played, Brian. Was that, right along?
Yeah. It's Arbor, or is it?
It's on Arbor.
On Arbor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go there and you do this kind of listing sheet there, and you're saying, does it meet the needs of the community? So again, how will you know that? Have you gotten input on every, what do we have, 44 parks?
Yeah, so it's not specific input. So it's not, and we'll have to determine based on how this process moves if we'll want to go further with community engagement for specific parks. But this would be more looking at Sherwood and saying, all right, Sherwood is a neighborhood park. a neighborhood park should be have a playground. It should have a certain type of amount of recreation, and that would be a standard. Every time you go to a neighborhood park, there should be a lot for you to do. How about access? Is there a bike rack? We want to be promoting, especially for neighborhood parks. They don't necessarily, they're serving the neighborhoods. They don't necessarily need a parking lot. So Sherwood doesn't have a parking lot. That's fine, but it should be easy to walk to. So is there a curb cut? Is it easy for someone to cross the street? I know there isn't a sidewalk along a right of way, along the right of way, but on the other side of the street there is. So just thinking about what's that experience like for someone to enter Sherwood? Is there bike parking? Is the bike parking close to the entrance?
Okay.
So it's that kind of look at our parks. And so I think there is I am certainly someone who is a proponent of community engagement, but I think there is an element of this where we're really looking simply at design and establishing like a minimum level of like experience standard for our parks, and we want to just make sure that they're meeting those. And if they're not meeting those, we need to know where are those gaps and how can we make our parks better serve our community. And then beyond that, we can explore further engagement with the community.
Okay. And just my final question is about, we designate parks in different ways though.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yes.
so every park that was like Sherwood would have this minimum level of
Right.
thing, but there are some parks that are just a backstop,
That's
or right. Or something.
yeah. So Sherwood is a neighborhood park. I'm going to go off memory here, but the standard I believe that we've determined for neighborhood parks would be it needs 4 out of 6 major recreation components. And those major recreation components were determined, there were priority recreation elements that were determined again through Greenprint, through our attitude and interest survey. So we might, but we're also looking at the neighborhood holistically. So within that south, I want to call it this, like it's not the southwest side. I forget what that area is called, but kind of the Sherwood Forest area. Can you find baseball or a backstop? So at Sherwood you can. Can you find a playground? Yeah, at Sherwood you can. Can you find a basketball court? You can find one at Cloverdale. Can you find tennis at Cloverdale? So thinking about how is that neighborhood met with recreation, with the existing neighborhood parks. And the neighborhood parks are really the vehicle for that kind of informal recreation. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, complete.
Yeah, so that's kind of the angle that we're taking with this project, is really trying to understand how are we serving our neighborhoods. We recognize that neighborhood parks are small, and like you said, some can really only accommodate a backstop or a playground. But is the community in that neighborhood served with other neighborhood parks or other amenities close by?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jen, your hand is still up.
I did not mean for it to be, but I will say that I like this, and I like taking a more local look at what we're doing and not involving all the consultants in the world and saying, here's what we need and here's what our people want. And I didn't mean to suggest that we needed more surveying. I just felt like I kind of like the inventory and just gut check on what we're doing for each neighborhood.
Yeah. It's taking a fresh look at our parks. And Rachel, being somebody who's not from Highland Park, who has a really good sense of trends, of public spaces, being that she's in her graduate program, I think will be a really good fresh eye on our parks.
That's good. That's great. Excuse me, sorry. Anything else on this topic? Let's go to Sunset Woods Playground and Site Master Plan Update. Molly, you're up again.
I am. So give me 1 second. So I'm going to stop sharing. Hold on. Hey, Roxanne, can you just take the share from me for a second so that I don't know how to do that so that I can open up the new file.
Oh, give me a second.
Oh, can you guys see it? Did I do it?
Good.
Okay. All right. I am going to be providing an update on the Sunset Woods Park Master Plan. Before I do that, I want to share that the Sunset Woods Playground renovation project is proceeding, and we are going out for bid tomorrow. We have 5 separate bids, so we're going to be doing that construction management piece here in-house. We're very excited to be moving on to this next phase in the project, and we'll have more to share in the coming month. But so this project is bringing us back to the master plan. And so we updated the plan based on some of the feedback that we heard from the board and community, and also our board liaisons. So I'm going to show you those updates that were made, and then I'll share with you our next steps in this effort. So this is the concept plan that was presented in February 21, and I'm showing this for reference. I've highlighted in the yellow circles kind of the identified areas that were of concern. So this one, can you see my cursor? This one here on the lower, the southeast, there was some concern about the scale of this wheel-friendly area on the pump track, and we are eating into what was referred to as the Great Lawn, this open space area where we have many of our larger events. Just some concern about taking away this third field and generally just taking away open space. So we heard that as a concern, and then the circle here is highlighting the concern about the scale of the splash pad, it's being called a spray pad here. That we're not looking necessarily for something you might see at Hidden Creek, like the overhead sprinklers, and really somewhere where you're going as some people might think of as a splash pad. We're thinking of something more smaller scale for this area, but still water play. So the updated master plan, I'll start here very simply, just for master planning purposes, we've just retitled that label. So we're looking at water spray elements, and really that is to indicate that we're looking at little bubblers coming from the ground that are intermittent, that can be turned on and turned off. If they're off, it's more of a multi-use space, so that it's not just a designated splash pad, but it is more of a gathering area, has some small water play for kids. In the southeast area, we've removed the pump track. This path is the existing path. So we are no longer eating into this green space just west of the existing skate park. So all the skate improvements are kept to the east of that walk. There is still a designated skate park here, which is to be an organic kind of concrete type of skate park, which is a little bit different from our modular skate park, but fits more into the landscape. And then this kind of wheel-friendly plaza, which again is another multi-use space, can accommodate different types of events or groups, but is welcoming to scooters, skateboarders, bikers, but also could be used for other types of events. But all of it is staying east of that walk. We're not eating into the green space. And in fact, we're gaining some additional green space here. And for reference, this is where, so the skate park is here currently. I think it's hard to see right now, but this is where it is now. And then there's a basketball court here. And just as a reminder, that's moving here. I know that you guys haven't seen this for a while, so if I went through that too fast, I'm happy to answer questions. But let me show you some, I have some representative images just to show you kind of like the kind of bubbler kind of floor spray, just to give you some sense of some of the new proposed elements. Here's that like a wheel-friendly plaza that I was talking about. And these are some of the other new improvements that are proposed within this master plan, the adult fitness. I apologize, this isn't a great image, but that tiered seating up on the north end of the park, and then that multi-use court, which is replacing the basketball court on the west side of the park. I'll keep going to share next steps, and then I'll open it up for questions if that's okay. Okay.
Perfect. Commissioner Grossberg chomping at the bit.
There you go. Okay, so next steps. So while many of these new improvements did receive positive feedback through all the various, we had, grassroots engagement efforts where we were out in the park just talking with people. We also had a more formal survey. So we did hear positive feedback about the wheel-friendly area, about the water feature play and the fitness. But we'd like to go take the opportunity this summer and go back to the community and get their feedback on these efforts. And so we're proposing an event on July 10th. So that's it's in conjunction with Unplugged Illinois. And the idea is that we'll be able to invite people to join us out in the park, activate the park, and have the opportunity to almost pilot some of these new proposed elements. It gives the community the opportunity to spatially understand what we're proposing. And it's a lot different to see it at the park. And I know at least Jen and Terry, I think you've seen that through our efforts with the playground. It makes a big difference to actually be out on site. So we think that there's benefit in getting some additional feedback from the community before we bring the plan back to the board for approval of the comprehensive master plan for Sunset Woods. All right, I'm gonna now pass it on to you guys for questions.
Okay, I did it appropriately this time. So going back to a couple drawings back where we're talking about the master plan for the whole park. Yeah, so let me start with the southeast corner, the bike scooter. So yes, there was a lot of pushback about losing the baseball field and some of that other stuff. What are we losing by not having that? What would you call it? A rec track?
The pump track?
Pump track. So, because that was kind of cool.
I don't think we're losing anything. There are some, we've seen some examples of like a smaller type pump track activity included in skate parks, especially with the concrete skate parks. So I think there's still opportunity to bring that in. I don't think we're losing anything. I still think we can accommodate that interest in the space that we're given.
Great. Okay, fine. Now, there were two issues with the a splash pad. First of all, I had no problem with the splash pad, calling it a splash pad and having a splash pad. There were others on the committee that did. They're not on the board anymore. But there was a second issue about getting the expense of piping and water. Has that been looked at any more deeply?
No, but this would, if we were to put a spray pad in this location, this would be the most ideal location to put that. There is some water at the playground, so, and this is not too far off from the playground. But I'll mention, and the reason why, or one of the benefits of having these two presentations so close to each other is that we know that the community and definitely showed us interest in a spray pad through the survey that we just did with Sunset Woods. So as we're going through this district-wide assessment of our parks, we might identify that there's a better place to accommodate that need for our community, and maybe it's not at Sunset Woods. So I think that's a good example of how this Sunset Woods master plan fits in really nicely with the park site plans, and why giving us this extra couple of months before approving the site plan, the Sunset Woods master plan, we're going to confirm it through this park site plan initiative, where we're looking at our district holistically.
So what do we call this kind of park?
Sunset Woods Park, like what category is it?
Yeah.
It's a community park. We have 3
Yeah.
community parks, Fink, Sunset, and Kniff.
Got it. Okay. And I'm sure that this checks off many of the boxes.
All of our community parks really meet the standards of our community from a recreation standpoint. They all have such a variety of recreation. So yes,
Okay.
and
That's
so
it?
yeah, I guess I'll leave it there.
No.
We have great parks.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Jen? Your hand is down.
Oh, I took it down because now you called on me. So are we saying that we've done a lot of research on individual parks kind of in a silo, but haven't done this? I'm new to the group here. So, kind of when was the last time we took a true inventory, or if we not done it to the extent you're discussing before? And then maybe there's an opportunity, second part, to shuffle things around, ? Given the feedback we get on each of those areas overall.
I would say that we did it during Greenprint. We looked at our parks holistically. I think the difference of what we're doing now is that neighborhood deep dive, and doing really a site, looking at what we could improve at each site, kind of in a smaller scale, if that makes sense.
Sure. So there are other things aside from a splash pad or spray pad or whatever we're going to call it that could go elsewhere.
Sure. We might look at the fencing. We might want to improve the fencing, or we might want to say we want to add a connection to a sidewalk here, or kind of more of those smaller improvements that aren't like these major. We're going to add a splash pad or a playground or a building, which
Splash pad's pretty big. So you mentioned that as one thing. So I just wanted to see the scale of what we're talking about. Kind of.
I think that was in direct response to that question about, is this the right location? And I think there were some concerns about whether this is going to be really costly because it's not close to water. Is this the right place for a splash pad? So we're going to be, in addition to looking at all the standards, we know that there are some other questions that are being asked about some of our parks specifically, that we're going to, I think, have a better ability to answer after doing this park site plan and getting a really good check-in with all of our parks.
Yeah, awesome. As for the pump track, I've only really had one resident after me about a pump track. So I was wondering what level of interest we had in that to begin with, and how useful we thought that was going to be. I don't have any problem ditching that for now.
It was one of the first things we did for our engagement for the Sunset Woods Master Plan was like I think we called it a vision survey, and we put up a bunch of different pictures of different types of activities, and one of them was a pump track. And there were, I believe we got a number of clicks on that, and so it kind of rose to the top as some interest in wheel-friendly type of activities beyond a skate park. And I know that we've been approached, particularly around the preserve, about different types of like I call it adventure biking. So it's other things to do with your bike that aren't just biking on a path are becoming popular amongst I think younger age groups. So it did come out in this survey, but it certainly wasn't like the splash pad, I believe, rated one of the top improvements that people were looking for at Sunset Woods. So I think we felt that we could accommodate the interest in bike or wheel-friendly activities in this area, even if we reduce the scale, because we heard overwhelmingly that the importance here at the park is to preserve the open space and the green space and the trees at Sunset Woods. So we felt that this was meeting the community feedback that we were hearing.
Awesome. That's all I had. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Yeah, next is Preserve Highland Park signage plan. Director Kugola and Manager Grill to present.
Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. I'm having trouble. Roxanne, is there?
Your screen's showing now, it looks like. Oh, that's Roxanne's.
Yeah.
What about now, Liz? Are you having any luck? I thought maybe if I took it away and then gave it back to you, you'd have better luck.
Hang on a second. Sorry for the delay. I had it.
Way to go, Liz.
You know,
Is
little
Bryant
technical
on there? Can you give her access? Share screen?
Can you see it now?
No?
Okay. Oh, here we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Anybody? Okay. I think this is probably the best view I can give you right now. I apologize. It's not full screen, but I think it'll do the trick as long as everyone can see it. The slide part of it. So the presentation I'm going to give to you today is a signage and branding plan that we have for the Preserve of Highland Park. And we were actually approached by the project team several months ago and started conversations about just the nature of the preserve and how special it is. It's a really very unique destination, not only for our community, but potentially for the whole region around the area. And we felt that there are so many unique aspects to the property that it really deserved maybe a special consideration for signage. And the other thing about signage is, not only does it provide information and wayfinding for visitors, but it also really gives you a sense of place, and it can also kind of set the tone and the mood for for the particular property. So with that in mind, we decided to look at some of the different aspects of the preserve that really do make it so unique. And as many of you have been out there, especially late in summer into fall, and starting right now, actually, from what Rebecca has told us, that the colors just really start blooming. There certainly are beautiful greens and golden colors of the wispy grasses, but there are also beautiful flowers that come out in the summer that are, the shades of gold and yellows and the purples. So we really took inspiration from just the natural colors that are part of the preserve's atmosphere as we were looking at the signage and inspiration for the signage. So that was the first thing that we looked at, were color schemes. The second thing that we took inspiration from was just, looking at some of our national parks and some of the beautiful imagery and color schemes, the different typography, taking inspiration from that. We also took inspiration from some of the wildlife, and the most, I think special of all of the animals that are out at the preserve are the gorgeous and very elegant looking sandhill cranes that we see, families of them and groups of them out in the lawn areas and in the grass areas. So we really looked at those birds as just really a unique feature of the preserve that you don't see just everywhere. And one of the kind of art eras that really highlighted the beautiful cranes and kind of the natural, beautiful flowing areas of the preserve was what was called the Art Nouveau era. It was very similar to Art Deco, but a little bit more elegant feeling and a little bit more graceful feeling that we thought really represented the preserve. And the crane was always kind of the featured wildlife element in the Art Nouveau era. So based on all of that inspiration, from the colors to the wildlife to looking at our national parks, and also just the art era that we felt kind of brought it all together, we came up with first a word mark and a shield. And you'll see this shield used throughout all of the signage that's at the preserve. What the shield does is it gives you a sense of place, and the shield is the P that's in this nice, shield. But you'll see that being repeated throughout the signage. And again, it gives you a sense of place. When you see this on the signage, you know that you're still in the preserve. And then the word mark is right here. And this would be used in marketing materials, and it's also used in signage within the preserve. And again, this takes inspiration from the eras that we were looking at, both from our national parks and specifically the Art Nouveau era of art. So this would be the design for the main entrance signs. Again, using kind of the beautiful dark golden colors, almost a bronzy gold color for the outline, showing some of the beautiful imagery of the graceful foliage that's out at the preserve. And then of course the cranes at the top that are flanking the word mark, which is the preserve of Highland Park. And these are main entrance signs that are just that. We'll go with the main entrances. It'll provide some overview information on the preserve. It'll have a nice map with color coding for the different trails throughout the preserve, as well as highlighting some of the beautiful amenities that are there. It'll also kind of give you a sense of where you are at the preserve as you're entering it, and it will also provide some visitor information. So this would be the main entrance sign, and I believe there would be about 4 or 5 of those. One would be, of course, at the main entry plaza. Then at the secondary entrances, this would be the design for the sign. Again, very graceful imagery with the cranes at the top, flanking the preserve logo. And then this information would have visitor information general information for the park, they would be much smaller in size and would not be able to accommodate a map. But those maps would be at all of the main entrances. And again, the shield is on the bottom of the signs, and that again gives you kind of a sense of place of where you're visiting. So this is how the signs would look. They will be what we call post and panel signs. Very simple, not very expensive. The large sign is about 5 foot tall. The background of the sign, that kind of golden, beautiful bronzy color, would be replicated on the actual posts on both the large welcome signs and the small secondary entrance signs. And both signs would have the shield of the P. One of the things that we looked at too, just in the color schemes, not only is it reflecting the beautiful colors when the preserve is all abloom, but we also felt these colors would be very complementary to the landscape in all seasons. They're bold enough to grab someone's attention so they know, you know, there's information here and I can go look at it and read it to get the maximum enjoyment out of the property, but it also is not too overwhelming. So we felt that these color schemes really fit well into the landscape because they really are reflective of the natural colors that are there during the season. Then moving on, this is just an example of what the entryway plaza would look like. It would have the regular standard for our facility signage and our park signage that we have in our current sign standards. So that would be at the entrance of the entry plaza, and then the large welcome sign then would be to the side. And of course, we can figure out the exact locations for this, but the main entry sign then, or welcome sign, would provide all of the information with the map and give people an idea of what direction they can go to enjoy the park. Additionally, we'll have interpretive signs, and these interpretive signs will be located at the entrance of all of the main amenities at the preserve. The entrance signs will have information about the amenity, some of the information about, you know, preservation and some of the natural elements that they'll see within the particular amenity. There'll also be some photographs and some other information, and probably a QR code at the bottom. If people want more information, they would be able to scan the QR code and get more details on some of the elements of nature that they would find in that particular amenity. Again, the interpretive signs will have the P at the bottom and also a P at the top. A unique element about these interpretive signs that I know we've talked about in the past is this kind of, I call it almost like a backboard, almost that you'd see like a backboard on a bed. This backboard will be something that will be removable. So if we do get sponsors for particular amenities, we would be able to provide the sponsor logo to the side of the title for the amenity on the interpretive signs. If we don't have a sponsor, the title would just show. But these are removable backboards, so this would be something, if we do get sponsors, you know, and you know, once the facility opens and people start seeing what a great, you know, what a great park it is, this would be something that could be easily removed and a sponsorship logo added to it or taken away if the sponsorship, you know, ended. So that gives it good flexibility. So the colors for this would be, again, kind of the golden yellows and the purples, and then the tan or off-white colors. In addition to that, we're looking at doing path and mile marker signs. Again, they would have the small P, just again to give you a sense of place, and they would have directional arrows that would be color coded to correspond with the color codes for the different trails. There might be some additional information. And I know that the project team is seeing if there will be a way that they could reuse some of the golf ball cleaning posts that are out there from the golf course. They've saved, I believe, about 18 of these, and we thought they were really unique. They're metal with kind of a nice little finial at the top. And we thought this would be a neat element to add in if we could reuse those posts for the path and mile marker signs. So here's the signage hierarchy. Again, we have the general monument sign that would be at the entry plaza, our welcome signs, large welcome signs at the main entrances, and then the smaller ones at the secondary entrances, our trail marker signs, our interpretive signs, and of course we'll have, some hazard signs or more kind of warning type signs about things like cleaning up your dogs and, don't swim in the lakes and that kind of information as needed. So that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I'm going to go off the reservation and ask a question about signage. I walked it over the weekend, and the path signage, I think, is lacking a little bit. It wasn't clear to me where path, current allowable path ended, where it went. There was by the entranceway to the driving range, there was an orange sign or orange fencing, but it had an opening there. We walked through that, but it was clear we weren't supposed to go there. I just think we need to be more clear as to what paths are there. And if the paths are as minimal as I think, we should let people know that. Other than that, I thought the signs were great. I love the interpretive signs. The only thing I hope we were careful about is sponsors. I understand the need for sponsors and the benefit of sponsors, but I don't want to turn into what I'd like to say race car drivers and have sponsors' names everywhere. I think we need to be careful when doing that. Otherwise, I love it.
Actual hand.
All right.
Okay. So
Can't follow the damn rule.
the shield around the P, what is that? Just a symbol from that era? Is that the parks sort of symbol that they have like at federal, national parks? Is that what that's supposed to be like?
Yeah, I think the main purpose of it really is to just give you a sense of place. So if you're out on one of the trails, for example, and you see that P, you're still in the preserve, you're still in the property.
Yeah, I get the P. I guess it's the shape of the image around the P. I really like the P. I'm trying to understand that shape. I mean, like if you went to the national parks,
Yeah.
they have shields, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that's what you're using kind of as your inspiration for that, right?
Yes, yes.
So is that an existing, is that what parks use as their shield, or is that just one that looked like one that we would use? I guess is what I'm asking.
That is our own interpretation for this particular park. And it also, it's a shape that also does a nice job of encapsulating the P.
And with the boards, I don't have as many problems with having people sponsor, especially like you have an example there of the First Bank doing it. I think that this is a great opportunity for the foundation to get involved with the preserve and to be the sponsors of at least one place on there and be recognized for the work they do. I just think that that's a no-brainer. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Commissioner Freeman, whose hand is raised.
Hello. So I like the P, and I don't mind I'm going to call it a backboard because that's what just was about to come out of my mouth. But is there any way to do sponsorships without the logo, that we could just use the company name and give them other places where we promote the logo versus right there? Just a question, not a criticism.
Sure. And we've talked about it. I will say the the sponsorships for the amenities that we've been looking at, they're a pretty hefty fee. I mean, I think we're
Yeah.
looking at about $20,000 per amenity. I don't know how many sponsors we'll get, but we can certainly look at, what we're trying to do is not have to create new signage.
Yeah.
For the sponsors. And there really is no, at a lot of these amenities, it's just an open area. It's an open
Yeah.
space. So there's really not.
Nature's hard. Nature's
Yeah.
hard to brand.
It sure is. So, so this we thought would be, if we were to get a sponsor, and if that was the direction that we, that the board agreed, the way the interpretive signs are fabricated, we would have that ability with the backboard, to be able to just take it off and reprint it. And,
Yeah. Oh, I totally like the backboard. It's just like everything is so cute and kind of, oh God, why can't I think of the look of it? The Ravinia, anyway, it has that great look. It's kind of retro. And then, there's this logo. So I was just thinking like if there was a way to incorporate that into the look, but I totally get it. And it wasn't a criticism. I was just kind of talking through it. I love it. It looks good. I like the B, I like the shield.
great, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Liz.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Is there
you.
is there any other business from the staff or board?
Just can we confirm our next Parks and Planning meeting? Roxanne, do you have that date handy of when we're scheduled for the next meeting next month? I'm putting you on the spot, maybe. Roxanne, are you there? Can she hear me?
She's muted, I don't know. Okay, we can do this.
We will email out the meeting date for the month of July.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm being in the area I sit in. I get asked multiple things. So we're trying to figure out when the next meeting is.
Okay, we'll just coordinate over email then.
Oh, I
Okay.
know when it is. Do you need to know when the next meeting is?
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that. Give me 1 second.
Don't worry about it, Roxanne. We'll just coordinate over email. We'll send it out.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
I move to close the meeting.
Ben, will you second?
Second.
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 5:02 PM.
Good
Great,
job.
thank
To
you.
vote. We got to vote on that.
Yes.
You should say all in favor.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Now everybody have a good night.
Woo.
All right.
Bye,
thanks.
guys. Thank you.